ladies and gentlemen. Munciana Courtside. Show 1, Season 4. Never thought we'd make it through Season 1. Couple of new things this year. Going to have live interviews with coaches. Got a live studio audience. We lost one of our members that was here before. Would have been much more impressive. But we're ready to go. Mike Lingenfelter, alongside newly appointed Muncie Central Bearcat coach Randy Gardner. Guard Dog, kick us off.
Gotcha. A couple things we're going to hit on. We're going to hit on the success factor, games of the week, some matches to watch throughout the year, and then we'll get a Raymond James dark horse, and then we'll talk about the state finals.
Got it.
So first one, success factor. We talked about move up this year. We got Yorktown Providence going up to 4A. We got WAP going to 3A, and we got CAI going to 2A.
Yeah, all those champions moving up. It success factor is met with a lot of disgruntlement, a lot of folks not really happy with it.
Yep.
A lot of people have always argued against it. But, you know, when you start to look at it, it's kind of doing what they wanted it to do, especially when you look at Yorktown and Providence, who were the best two teams the last 2 years in 3A. They move up to 4A, and they're both two of the top 5 or 6 teams in 4A. So the one good thing is you're bunching a lot of likability at the top. It just really makes it really muddy down at the 1A and 2A to figure out who's got a shot. But I guess from a parity standpoint, it's worked.
Yep. All right, we'll talk about Lazy Boy games of the week. We got a good rundown. Not really a certain game. It's a great week of volleyball.
I think it's going to be a great year of volleyball. I think there's so many good games.
Yeah.
This will be the hardest part of the show.
Yeah.
Each week trying to put together the game of the week.
Yeah.
There's so many good teams.
I agree. On Monday night that we didn't get a cover was HSC and Carmel, and HSC swept Carmel.
And did so in really a powerful fashion. At one point, 18-3, I think it's set number 1. Either Jason Young's group is really maturing quickly and is going to be a real force, or Carmel's still struggling to gel. I don't know which is which, but both those teams I really expected to be very, very good teams. I expected it to be a great match.
Yep.
Tough start of the year for Carmel.
Yep. And then Zionsville took down McCutcheon last night in 4, which McCutcheon's up and coming.
They got two of the best teams in the state of Indiana. Zionsville, the oldest team in the state of Indiana. Those guys are eligible for retirement funds.
Yeah.
The 9 seniors in that group. McCutcheon, some young kids in a program that's really been kind of slowly but surely grinding its way back to its glory years.
Yep. Tuesday night, got a couple good games. We got Delta and Wapahani. It was supposed to be at Wapahani. They're redoing the floor. Didn't get it done in time, so it's now at Ball State.
Yeah, big game in the big house. Two teams are going to be featured in the same sectional. 2 teams that are always going head-to-head in Delaware County. 2 proud teams. One's a defending state champion. The other is really as close as you could possibly get to winning a state championship. Delta the last couple of years, with Yorktown unfortunately taking them out. That's a great matchup.
Yep.
Great matchup.
The other one was Avon heading over to Center Grove.
Okay, once again, 2 historical programs. Center Grove is fully reloaded, and I think they're ready to make a charge back into the prominence of the state 4A title hunt. Avon may be the best team in the state, maybe one of the better teams in the country.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Then you follow back with Wednesday night. You're going to have HSC in Newcastle and Floyd Central New Albany.
HSC Newcastle is interesting. Newcastle is very, very young, but very, very talented. HSE, as you saw with Carmel, has got some older pieces to it. A couple of kids that really give him some maturity on the floor. Lark Jones, for one, who evidently played tremendous last night, is going to be a matchup issue for Newcastle because of the middle of the court. But that'll be a dandy.
Yeah. And then Saturday, we got a couple big-time games going on. We got Avon, Yorktown, LN, and kind of a 3-way match at Lawrence North.
Yeah, it's the hardest job in the state of Indiana right now is at schools like Providence and Yorktown, Wapahani. is trying to upgrade your schedule to match what your new expectations are. You know
Yeah.
that Yorktown schedule was always a 3A-ish schedule, and now it's obviously they're going to entertain some of the big boys.
Yeah.
Lawrence North maybe as athletic as anybody. They're great athletic wise. Lauren Matthews, as good an athlete as there is in the state. Yorktown, the all small team, you know, they'll dominate from the back 20, and it's really not about what they do, but what they don't.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think that when you look at those two teams, and just in general, if those two teams were matching up uh, just for one game, I mean, it would be amazing. But Avon riding in with Going sisters and John Table, they may, like I said, that's a great Saturday.
Yeah. And the other one would be the Carmel invite, which has gotten better year after year. Crown Point, Carmel, Providence, Valpo, all there.
I like it because they bring that northern flavor in.
Yep.
You know, Valpo and Crown Point are very, very good programs. Always are. Crown Point's going to be really good this year. Carmel, we got to figure out where they're at. Last night really kind of threw me off a little. I was expecting a little more. Providence is going to be great. The Hornung sisters are off the charts good, and Valpo is always loaded with great athletes.
Yep. All right, so top of the games to watch this season. We always talk about Tuesday, 8:23, Blues Day. I'll just give you a rundown of all of them. We got Carmel, Avon, which is always a classic. Center Grove, Cathedral, the Battle of the Fort Wayne, Belmont, and Fort Wayne Concordia. LN and HSE, great athletes across the board there. Fishers and Chittard. Fishers could be dangerous. And then Yorktown, Delta.
Yeah, I mean, all great games. I mean, Carmel, Avon, replaying the state championship from a couple years ago. Center Grove, Cathedral have had some of the most epic matches over the last 3 or 4 years. A little different, though. You know, Center Grove is trending up. Cathedral lost an awful lot. They're still very dangerous and still one of the best teams in the area. But they're in a rebuilding year, and they're going to have to. It's going to take some time for them to get used to the new staff. I mean, no Kesterson after a billion years, and that should be a great match. The Summit City Showdown between Belmont and Fort Wayne Concordia. Belmont's a little down. Concordia may be a bit much for them.
Yeah.
You hit it on the nose. Lawrence North, HSE, a lot of really good athletes. And a neat matchup in the middle with Matthews against Jones.
Yeah.
I think that game may come down to a little bit of that. HSE a little bit more ball control. Fishers, the up-and-comers, Chittard coming back. You know, they're reloading and coming back. And Yorktown Delta is all you got to say is that's a preview of the Delaware County Championship on a year-in, year-out basis. Two teams, and Heidi Zigraff referenced earlier this week that she hated to see Yorktown move up. I would love to see Yorktown move up if I was anybody else. You know, them moving up to 4A, but she cited that she'll miss the competitive nature of that sectional. And, you know, they'll get their competitive nature going really quickly this year because that matchup next Tuesday, that's a Delta you got to look at. And within a week, the first week of the season, we'll have played Wapahani and Yorktown. That's a tough start for that Delta squad.
Yep, no doubt. And another one to watch out for is Avon Volleyball Classic, Assumption, Carmel, Floyd Central, Lawrence North, Muncie Central, Newcastle, Southwood, on and on and on. Always loaded.
Well, I like that I see your team's name in there, that Bearcat squad that's in as you rub your face, is reloading a little bit. They've lost a lot of talent over the last couple of years and then lost probably their best player, Virginia Wilhoit, to an ACL. That's just a tough road for anybody to handle, much less a rebuilding program.
Yep.
But man, you know, anytime you bring Assumption into the fold, it's a great event. Ronnie Cordes' squad is obviously going to be as good as ever.
Yeah. Cathedral invite towards the end of September. Like I said, all your powerhouses of Indy, Cathedral, Avon. You got Newcastle, Center Grove, New Albany, Carmel, Garrett Catholic, all those guys in that area.
Well, I tell you what, whenever you get those are the primetime players.
Yeah.
You know, you get John Breeding to roll in here and
wearing his
flip-flops and trying to get after Matty Kurtz and the Newcastle gang, Center Grove on the upswing, Carmel trying to regain their days of their glory days, Cathedral trying to let people know their glory days aren't over, and Avon, like I said, maybe the best team in the state of Indiana. That's a great tournament.
Yep. A couple matches to watch out for: Avon's Crown Point and then Yorktown HSC.
A lot of people may look at Avon Crown Point as a potential state championship matchup. Two great squads and some great players in that. We'll talk about all of that later. Yorktown HSE, I liked your comment earlier that they played 4 times and the home team has never won. That blows my mind, but two really, really good coaches and two really, really good programs. Just for the record, Hamilton Southeastern is the home team this year for Jason Young and his group. If you're going to break that streak, it's on you. But that's going to be a great game.
Yep.
And an early game as well. Most of these games are other than really the Cathedral Invite, are all early September games.
Yep.
But if you're looking to go out and get some very modestly priced entertainment, these are as good a volleyball events and as good a volleyball venues as there are in the country.
No doubt. Raymond James, dark horses, who could possibly steal a spot in the state finals.
Wow. I got to get close for this. Dark horse. 1A?
1A, we talked about, we went to our inside man from the Buffalo area, David Jack.
Yeah.
He's really big on Lagodi.
He's really big, too.
Yeah.
He's the big Jamaican, really likes Lagodi. He's gone down there and done the camp the last couple of years. You called him as a 1A dark horse. You know, there would have been some people that would have argued years gone by that Lagodi was, man, they were as good as anybody in the state of Indiana.
Yep.
For years, and they've had a very high-profile program. They've dropped off a little bit, but I think they're back on the rise, according to David Jack.
Yep.
So Lagodi I'm good with.
Yep. 2A?
Christian Academy. Any team that Allie Stumler is affiliated with, I'm buying. She is the real deal. Going to play at UK and at the University of Kentucky, and she's just an absolute star in the club circuit. She's been big on the big stage at Worthen the last couple of years. You know, they move up. That's the one downside for them. They move up from 1A to 2A, and they play a very unorthodox style. And so much of their offense goes through Stumler, but don't be surprised if you see those guys coming out of the South. They're good.
Yep. 3A.
It's about putting the puzzle together. You know, Newcastle could be my dark horse. You know, you got the Shaftmaster sisters, Melanie Shaftmaster headed to Minnesota, Mabry Shaftmaster, still trying to figure out where she's going to play her college ball. Cecily Chester is very good. Ball control is off the charts with Zoe Conway and Bailey Cox. Some good role players in the mix there as well. This really comes down to the pieces of the puzzle are all there. But one of the weird things about coaching sometimes is that it's about putting the pieces in the right places. And this is a puzzle that is going to take some time for Matt Kurtz to figure out. And I think if he does, and he gets all the pieces properly placed, this team has as good a chance to surprise folks as anybody.
Yep. Then we got the 4A. We picked one from the north, one from the south, because, I mean, it's loaded from top to bottom, north and south.
Which is code for we couldn't agree. But, yeah, we did pick one from each side. Zionsville.
Yep.
For the last 2 years, we've been talking about Zionsville, and it's, you know, if you've been watching this show at all, you've heard me talk. This is the team that's coming. Well, it's now. It's now. They've got 9 seniors. The only difference is they've got a new coach. But 9 seniors should make a coaching switch over to Rich Coleman very easy. That team is dangerous, and as we talked about earlier, knocked off a very good McCutcheon team to open the season. Center Grove would be the other, and we reference them. There's these two teams. The reason I would put them as dark horses, Randy, is they're both well set. I think that when you've got to make a big run in the high school game, a place where most people are missing a part is at setter. These two kids, Mamie Garrard at Zionsville, is going to break every record they had, and MJ Hamill is going to probably walk out of Center Grove and onto Wisconsin's campus as the best setter that school's ever produced, and they produce some pretty good volleyball players. But I think that's the reason I picked those two teams as dark horse, just well led.
Yeah.
Well led, well set.
We want to talk about our state finals. Usually we pick the champions.
Not picking champions this year, and let's be 100% transparent here. It's because it's not as cut and dried as usual. Usually we try to wow you guys with our prowess. but it's pretty simple. And the last couple of years, I thought it was cut and dried who was going to be there, and we've had really good fortune. This year, not so much. I've referenced parity a couple of times. Some of that parity is being brought about by the success factor. Some of that parity is being brought about by the fact that there are legitimately 30, 40 kids in this state right now that are big-time D1 kids that have committed already or are about to commit. There's more talent than ever. Volleyball is alive and well in Indiana, and I think that's why making an absolute prediction is brutal. We're going to go ahead and predict, though, to wow you guys. We're going to predict who we think will be in the finals.
Yep. So the 1A?
Lafayette Central Catholic and Bar Reef. LCC's not a real reach. I'm really surprised they haven't moved up. We were looking at the success factor. I thought for sure they had bounced up, but they hadn't. Always there, always physical, always big, and really a very physical team for 1A usually. So I like LCC. You liked Bar Reef.
Yep.
And cited the fact that Bar Reef was dropping down from 2A. That's the other thing about this success factor you got to keep in mind is it's impacted by people moving up, but it's equally impacted by people moving back down.
Yep.
Bar Reef historically was a Southern representative, or always in the hunt to be the Southern representative in the 1A championships, and so Bar Reef moves back down. Should be entertaining, but those would be the two teams we'd pick.
Yep. 2A?
I like 2A. And I like it for some of the info that you found and some of the things we've watched over the last couple of years. Brian Dale's Hagerstown Tigers, I like from the north. This program has gone from outhouse to penthouse in a hurry, and Brian Dale's done a lot of work, spent a lot of time on it. He's got some very dedicated young ladies, and most people aren't aware that the only reason they weren't in the state championships last year was Wapahani. Wapahani beat them out, I believe, in the semi-state. Or late in the tournament. Andrian is who we think will play against them, and Andrian is the same as Bar Reef. They're a group that's moving down from 3A to 2A, and Andrian fell out of the tournament last year, got beat out by eventual state champion Yorktown. And so I like Andrian on the way down to 2A to be a real factor in this thing.
Yep. And then we go up to 3A.
Brian Murray rides back into the spotlight, coming back to relive his rebuffed glory days of Obamy and White. I think they're the Southern representative. He had told me that he was really eyeing these 2 years because he knew that Yorktown and Providence would both move up and open the door for him to jump in. And he lost early and already, like on Saturday, I believe, to Cathedral. But I think they're going to be very, very good. They've got a lot of talent, but they've also got a pretty good road.
Yeah.
Their opponent, I liked your answer on this. Sectional 24 will be
whoever comes out.
Who Brebeuf plays against. And, some people made reference, whoever comes out of that sectional has got a path. And that is a very, very good sectional, though. When you look at it from those people that know history, Burris is in that sectional now as a 3A. They got bumped up. They're the most historical team in the state of Indiana, but that sectional also has Wapahani, back-to-back state champions. Delta, who could have laid claim to back-to-back state championship appearances at least, had it not been for Yorktown. And Newcastle, who has glory years from Gillis and back, they're back into the picture. They've got they're loaded, so I think the sectional 24 winner will end up against Brebeuf in the state championship.
Yep. And the 4A.
Avon and Yorktown. Avon and Yorktown are two of the best coached teams in the state of Indiana. They're two of the most disciplined teams. Yorktown tends to be a back 20 team, meaning they win their games from what they do in the back 20 feet of the court. Avon is a very strong offensive unit led by Dorian Goings and Jail Johnson, and they've got Eastridge. They've got a ton of physical talent at the net. That's what they do. Yorktown, it's what they don't do. They don't make mistakes, and I think both of those teams ride into the state championship.
I agree. GearMunciana.com, preseason rankings. We'll go honorable mention. Let me give you a rundown of them. You kind of just hit on briefly. We had Carmel.
I like Carmel. I think Carmel is in a state of flux still, trying to get everything squared away from the coaching changes they've endured over the last couple of years. This is the for the seniors. I think it's the fourth coach in 4 years, and that's a tough situation. There's a lot of weird things have happened, and sadly for a lot of these guys, it's been a lot of changes in what their process is about, and the talent is there. I think they just got to figure out what they're going to do and what their new image or vision for that program is. But you got Bonnie Bostic and Sophie Oliphant, and that's a good place to start, as any.
Yep. Next one we had down, we had a few. Columbus East.
Columbus East, very young. Stacy Pinard's group, very well set. A young setter that still looking for a collegiate home. If you're in the market for a setter, she's a great one. And other than that, they're extremely young, very small, but tremendous work ethic and a lot of heart, which is what Pinard's teams usually do have. And I think that by the end of the season, if they can figure out how to mature, almost like a fine wine, I think that Columbus East has a shot to get into that top 10.
Yep. Fishers.
Probably the fastest moving group in the area. Mallory Hernandez, Rose Duffy. They've got some kids that can play.
Yeah.
Duffy's maybe the most underrated setter in the state, and Mallory Hernandez is going to be a force to deal with. I mean, this kid's big, physical. Just recently committed. She's ready to do some damage.
Yep.
Fisher's team is going to have to take care of the ball. I think it's going to be for them to get in the top 10, they're going to have to handle the ball.
Yep. And you got Floyd Central.
Got to get healthy. Bart Powell's group is always going to be physical at the net. Their ball handling is always one of the things he's having to really work on. He's just beat up right now. I think by the end of the year they will be a top 10 team, and you're going to hear about them as they go on. I mean, they're physical. They've got to get healthy. Bottom line, but a lot of very good volleyball being played in that part of the state. Them, New Albany, Providence, really, really fun volleyball for 4A down there.
Yep. All right, Newcastle.
Well, like I said, Melanie Schaffmaster is going to be an incredible player. She's going to be a real sight to watch over the next couple of years in Indiana high school volleyball and USA volleyball. She's a tremendous talent, and she's surrounded by a lot of talent. They're key to them making the top 10 or even a push is what I alluded to earlier. They got to figure out a way to put the pieces together. It's going to be really critical that they find a lineup that works. If they don't, it's going to off and on all season. They're going to lose just because they can't get that figured out. But that's Matt Kurtz's charge this year, and Godspeed.
Yeah. Noblesville.
Really talented. Noblesville and Zionsville are two teams I've talked about over the last 2 or 3 years. Steve Hawthorne is a very underrated coach. The program is slowly but surely sneaking up on people, whether Lex Bowler and then you got Almodovar and several other young players. Great back row play. This team is really ready to go. Setting is the one question still. How they're going to settle in the setting position is going to be interesting. He's got a couple of candidates he's looking at. But it's going to be a person that's fairly new to the position regardless of who gets it. And new when I say to pressure. And so that would be the thing with Noblesville. They've got to get their setting squared away.
Yep. And Lawrence North we've talked about a ton.
Nick Cox, it's hard to believe he's been there for 10 years already. But, Lawrence North is probably as athletic as anybody. I mean, Beasley is a big physical kid. Matthews, also going to Western Kentucky, reoccurring theme on this show today, is maybe the most athletic player in the state of Indiana. She's out of the middle of the court, but she can do an awful lot of damage and very fast off her feet. So Lawrence North is going to be dangerous. I think they've got to handle the ball as well. How they handle the ball is going to dictate how far they go.
Yep. All right, number 10, McCutcheon.
Well, you've got some numbers on McCutcheon that from the other night. I like McCutcheon. McCutcheon is coming back to their glory days of Lonnie Worthington and when they were always a stalwart in the state championships. They're young, but obviously they've got some kids that can get it going.
They got a sophomore duo with Emily Brown, 22 digs. She was a libero for them last night against Zionsville in 4 sets. And then Brooke Humphrey, 23 kills, 17 digs. So
23 kills against the Zionsville team, as seasoned as they are. is saying an awful lot. Those two guys, that's a huge start for them.
Yeah.
Like I said, Zionsville is tough, and if McCutcheon's the 10th best team, and Zionsville goes through them in 4, the rest of this list is going to be pretty good volleyball. But that McCutcheon team's going to be, the Mavericks are real.
Yeah. Number 9.
Wapahani.
Yeah.
A lot of nice pieces. Haven Gates in the backcourt. Lexi Spence is a setter, just committed to Marion. Skylar Van Note, Stella Davis, 2 big physical kids in the front row. Shuck in the front. I mean, they're big. They've got 3, 4, 6 foot kids. Not as they're not as deep number wise as they've been, but everybody that's on that varsity team can flat out play. And so Wapahani moves into our 9 slot.
Yep. All right, our number 1 from last year.
Cathedral. Yeah, it's a year of change.
Yep.
And I think Dee Dee Gallagher's going to do a great job. I watched her this summer. Great personality, great energy. The only thing that she doesn't have going that's great is that they're still trying to figure out the setting position. I think that they're a lot like Noblesville. There's some great moving pieces. Emily Kleck, who's committed to go to school up in New York. Maddie Norris going to DePaul. There are some really good pieces to this puzzle. Those 2 alone are as good attackers as you're going to find, but they're going to have to find somebody to dish the rock. And I know she has some young kids she's trying to groom, but whoever takes over for Miss Shore, who took her talents to Dayton, is going to fall into a hot seat because there's a lot of expectations at Cathedral and a lot of pressure on a young setter.
Yep. All right, number 7.
Crown Point. And really Chacon. I thought she was all-world last year when they played Cathedral in that state championship. Heading to Florida State. Really talented kid. Yeah. I've referenced the number of kids that are super talented, but that kid may be as good all-around players as the state of Indiana. And so Crown Point coming down the north, they're usually kind of off our radar, but not this year at all. I think they're dead on it.
Yep. All right, number 6.
Zionsville. And you can name off 9 seniors as the reason why. I really like Garrard as a setter.
Led the state last year in assist.
Led the state in assist. Very good leader and hungry to win. And Katie Eisenbarger is probably the best in the state of Indiana off of 1 foot. She should be. She's the best in Indiana off of 1 foot in the high jump in the track season as well. But she's also going to Western Kentucky. Garrard heading out west to San Jose. But great players, and I think that Rich Coleman's inherited a wonderful group of kids. Getting them to gel and getting them to move just beyond where they've been the last couple of years is going to be the key. I think ball handling is going to be a point of contention for them. I think Megan Carr's departure is bigger than what a lot of people think, but if they can square away the ball handling, I think this team could be very dangerous.
Yeah. All right, top 5.
The 5 top teams in the state are really interesting. I thought 5, 4, 3, and 2 were somewhat interchangeable. I felt really solid about 1. Center Grove could be a major threat. You worked with them this summer in camps. MJ Hamill heading to Wisconsin in a couple of years.
Emma Jones going to U of ND. She blew out her ACL last year. Fourth sectional. Is back now, feeling good. They got a nice heavy arm with the left side up there. She's going to Illinois south to east or southwest, one of those. They're really good.
And well coached. I'm very well coached.
And Merriman's going to Indiana State, the DS Libero.
Yeah, so Center Grove is moving in the right direction. This is Deb McClurg's era, maybe one of the premier high school programs in the state of Indiana. And it's neat to see them back on the rise. But great leadership at the setter position is going to help them.
Yeah. All right, number 4.
Hamilton Southeastern. Jason Young's team continues to move upward and on, and he's improved. He's improved what he does tenfold. Student of the game, as good a coach as you're going to find. He's got some kids that can play.
Yep.
Lark Jones is the real deal. She had a great match, they said, last night in the opener against Carmel. This team is as balanced as it's ever been. They've always had a kind of a star. This team is incredibly balanced, and if Grace Kane continues to improve and they take care of the ball, this team could go a long, long ways. I mean, they've got to handle the ball as well. Their defensive pressure is going to be critical. He's doing some crazy things lineup wise for middles. Trying to do a middle by committee, which if that's what you got to do, it's what you got to do. But it'll be interesting to see what goes on with HSE this year. But they're going to be in the hunt.
Yep. Number 3.
Providence. I'll always keep them in the hunt. Amongst the best coach teams in the country, much less the state.
Trying to get to the 4th straight.
It feels like 100 straight. They've done it over and over and done it as well as anybody. And one of the reasons they've done it is Hornings.
Yeah.
Now there's 2 of them there, I believe. But Marissa's a senior, going to go play at Purdue. She's a real deal. I mean, I saw her in a club season, and she is just a great volleyball player. She's an outside attacker for them, but like I said, we'll go play the bro slot at Purdue. And what a great gift for Dave Shondell and the Boilermakers, because this kid can play the game the way it needs to be played as well as anybody in the state of Indiana. And that's one of the reasons I keep Providence way up.
Yep.
That and coaching.
Yep. All right, number 2.
Number 2, I have Yorktown. It's really weird to say that going from 3A to 4A, I still have them as one of the favorites, but it's what they do. You got they're loaded. Knuckles and Murr are probably 2 of the best ball handlers in the state of Indiana, if not the country. Murr coming off a JO MVP run, or AAU MVP award from the national championships. Knuckles was the reigning sophomore player of the year. Bella Rosenthal is their setter. She and any other team in the state would be one of the best liberos in the state of Indiana, heading to Auburn. Some dark horse kids on that team. Searing's going to be a great player. I think that Yorktown team is well coached or well disciplined. But the thing I like about Yorktown is their expectations, and their mantra this year is step up.
Yep.
They're moving up a class, but I don't think they're leery of anybody, and you need to be careful watching out for them because they're really a hard team to prepare for. They're not a big bombing team, but they will not make mistakes.
Yep. Number 1.
Avon. I referenced Goings, 2 Goings, one at the setter slot, one at the DS slot or bro slot. Those 2 kids are very, very talented. Eastridge is as good a player as there is in the state of Indiana, and Jale Johnson may be the most dangerous hitter.
Yeah.
Physical. You look at him. Let's look at some of those middles. I look at our list. Horan from Munster is a great middle. Needs a little more supporting cast. Lauren Matthews we talked about, but Jale Johnson at Avon is as solid as any.
Yeah.
Eisenbarger, Amaya Jones from Indianapolis, Tinley, great player. There's so many good middles. Julia Woolhart from Decatur Central.
Yep.
Great middles throughout the state. And Jale Johnson may be, she may be the best of those middles if push comes to shove. She's really good.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really good year. But Scotty McQueen's group, I think, to start the year, starts off on top. Great coach, always finds a way to make it happen. And I think this may be his best group.
Yeah.
So with that, it should be entertaining.
No doubt.
If you get a chance, buy a ticket, watch Randy do his coaching thing on the side. I promise you that we won't have any predictions with Randy betting against or for his Muncie Central Bearcats.
No Pete Rose.
Yeah, I just don't want to see him go Pete Rose. I want to see him find his opportunity to get in the Hall of Fame someday, and I don't want to be the reason for him not getting there. I think this campaign this year that with the Bearcats may be what gets him over the hump and gets him into the Hall of Fame. Keep your eyes on that. With that said, have a great week, and we'll hit you next week.